today I have three of my favorite women in the show. And you know what? I'm just gonna, hey, Ann, let me see. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll just go ahead and turn your camera off. Stop the video. Okay, so Hannah Lichtenfield is about to pop in here too. So yeah, we'll have people keep kind of dropping in. Okay, so why you asked, are these three of my favorite women? Well, I will tell you. These ladies, and Amy Laugesen in particular, I have no idea, but there's some kind of like thing going on between the four of us that every so often I'm having a real bummer day and a text message pops up and it's like, hey, just thinking of you, hope things are good. And it's just kind of amazing, you know, or an email pops up or, hey, I'm working on this. What do you think? It's just, I don't know. We have some harmonic convergence going on with us. So anyway, yeah, right. It's good stuff. So the other really cool thing that is happening here with these three women is they are some of the just out of the box creative folks I know. And I never really know what they're going to throw at me, but I do know it's going to be good. So we've got Mae Michael Berger, who started out, she's a photographer. You came to, I saw your work, you showed me your work, it was photography. And you were printing it on a plexiglass surface and creating these collaged images. And holy moly, you did not stop there.
No.
No. Amy Laugesen, clay artist, and just really doing these such imaginative pieces that do this great nod to art history and a really deep dive into what has come before and just really kind of making connections through time and over just thousands of years of humanity, right? And then Elsa Soroka, who I cannot wait for you to see Elsa's new work in the show. Talk about an artist who has taken this time of COVID to really expand what she's doing and play and experiment and bring us some really, really cool pieces. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in with Maeve's work. I'm going to put a spotlight on Maeve. Amy and Elsa, do not disappear on me. Elsa is just so ready to bolt for the door.
Yeah.
Maeve, hello.
Hi, Rose. Thanks for having me. So happy to be here. Great.
So good to have you here. So since you started with the Coors Show, you just continue to grow. You were raised in outside of Castle Rock, Colorado, right?
Yeah, in Larkspur, so not too far, you know,
Yeah.
a couple, I don't know, 20 miles, is it? Something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So raised in Larkspur, grew up with horses, chickens,
Peacocks, goats, yeah, the whole, yeah, turkeys, I mean, kind of everything. We never did cattle, but yeah, I have a love for animals and nature in general.
Yeah. So, but also I think when you're raised around a lot of domesticated animals and you're living in this beautiful place, it's really idyllic. But also you become really in tune with nature, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I don't know, nature's always just been a big part of me, but I think a lot of my work is as well as I use plexiglass, which is just this kind of crazy material in the sense that it's modern, it's a little rigid, and I'm trying to find flexibility in it, you know, and trying to bring more life to it in general. So there's definitely an interesting dichotomy between material and nature and the animals, and those things that I add to it. But
yeah, and then just, like what we're seeing right behind you are, and if you're familiar with Mae's work, you can kind of see those little silver dots all over it. Those are your way of stacking these collaged images on top of each other to create a whole conversation within.
Right.
Yeah. How did you start doing that?
Yeah. So just that, I guess I've always considered myself, well, it's so funny, Rose, you said I was a photographer. And yes, I use photography as my medium to, show, do some kind of narration, maybe, just basically composing a whole bunch of ideas and images and places together. But yeah, basically I'm using different pieces of hardware to give separation and dimension between the images so that you can move in and out and around the whole piece in itself. So yeah. Did I answer that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, what I love is that you're showing us this lifestyle that you grew up with, but the West, and the West as you know it and see it, and you're putting it together. You're just combining all of these things. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it in a really rather fearless way. Like you just come up with stuff. And so what I want to do is a screen share, because
Sure.
I want us to take a look at your newest work, which is again another departure.
I know, totally different this year. Again, I mean, yeah, less imagery, more about oh gosh, that's a hard question. Anyways, I don't even know how to answer it yet.
Yeah,
Come up with it.
Let's just pull it up and take a look at what's going on here. So, and these are all relatively the same size, about 30 by 24 or 24 by 30, some vertical, some horizontal. Yeah. All right. You know what? Why don't let's just start off. What inspired the work?
Well, I guess part of what I do is, working with the imagery itself and the textures and the color. I know you told me not to talk about that, but but at the same time, it is like, it's the material. And so plexiglass is this awesome material because it's not only just clear, but it comes in a bunch of different colors, dimensions, that type of thing. And so this year I decided to play with like a green glass. And so similar to what real glass would look like, it has basically kind of a green tinge to it. I'll just say straight out right now, my work is very hard to photograph.
Yes.
Between reflections, between catching dimensions and lighting, it's just really hard. So I can't wait for everybody to see it in person. But no, this year it was a little bit more just about taking an object, and the animal, the horse, that I haven't focused too much on. I've really focused more on the tools and necessities of the Western lifestyle, which would be saddles, tack, that kind of thing. And this year I was like, let's focus on the horse. And so a big part of what I do is just kind of deconstructing and then reconstructing. And so I did a whole bunch of drawings, and I broke down the horse into these different segments, and then put them back together in layers. And so the green glass gives it a little bit of etherealness. It's very delicate, it's soft, and they're placed on clouds, on cloud background. So there's just this kind of airiness to the whole thing. So
yeah. And so you do get those layers, and as the glass lays on top of the glass, gets darker and accentuates certain aspects of it. And then the clouds behind it, it's subtle, but it just sort of adds a sort of kind of motion or modeled effect to the work. And honestly, we just really lined these up together because, as you see them on this page, it makes a whole statement with these horse gestures that, if you know horses, this is just such a a wonderful thing about them. They're, you know, the athletes, the ballerinas, the performers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the kind of the goal. I didn't, you know, I did probably 10 different sketches of horses in different positions. And, you know, what areas could I really accentuate and just make them, you know, give them all different elements of how a horse might act in a moment, or, you know, act throughout the day. So yeah. And I have sketches too, Rose, I can just like briefly show. I don't know if you can see them.
Hang on, let me do this. Let me just stop the screen share for 1 second. And then I will actually, if I can find, oh, there it is. Let me do stop the share. Stop. Okay.
I just want to show really briefly, just to give a little bit of the process to it. But I basically, if you can see this, can you see this? So sketching the horses out, and then finding the different areas of layers, and then putting them on, you know, tracing paper, and really deciding like where those elements were, and then transferring all of these different areas and shapes onto Photoshop to be able to print them and cut them.
Wow.
So it's a little bit of a process with my work, because I'm working in Plexi on a larger scale. So anyways, I just wanted to give you a little brief, you know, sketch idea of how it started.
Well, and if you ever have the opportunity to go to Mae's studio, I'm just going to toss this out there, is that you can actually see if you've ever made anything, if you've ever cut anything out with a pattern and sewn clothes, you know, you can, that's kind of how a lot of this happens. You can see Mae's patterns, and then they are created into these pieces that she puts together. But it's really,
exactly.
Yeah, but so you know, in a piece like this called Turn, yeah, I mean, this one is really actually quite complicated to kind of figure out that foreshortening of, you know, the horse in pieces and lengthening in others. But talk about inspiration for these.
The inspiration, I guess it really just kind of was that I've been focusing more on the tools of the Western lifestyle, and I hadn't really done much with the animals themselves, like ever. So I really was like, you know, I grew up with Appaloosas, and I don't know, they're just these beautiful, majestic creatures that are, there's so much life to them. And so I just wanted to focus on them this year more than anything. And just finding those different body positions, I think is amazing. And their musculature in general is just like, it's fantastic. So really, like, me finding those lines was almost natural when I was drawing the body. And so that's why the legs are separated, or the muscles, or the chest work, you know, the rear end. It's just like fantastic to find those body forms.
You know, I think it's such an interesting thing when we're looking at art, and when something comes at you that is truly looking at this, you can see the parts, and you see the extreme simplification that lets the elegance of, in this case, the animal, the horse, come through. And I think it's such an interesting thing, because, you know, when we look at art, and a lot of times when you look at, say, you know, hyperrealism, that just, and we've got Dan Sprick and Brad Overton and Scott Frazier in the show, and these are some of the most magnificent, and I call them hyperrealists, not photorealists, because they're not going for photography, they're going for a just realism explosion, right? And Mavis, this year, you are on the other end of it. You are just really simplifying things down to such basic elements. And something that I really love to talk to people about when you're looking at work like this is it's sort of like, don't be fooled, because it's so complex. Right? To be able to say something with as few essentially brush strokes as possible, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it is interesting because you can look at a form and just and see it as it is. And then I go through and kind of deconstruct and then reconstruct. So yeah, making something simple into a little bit more complex. And then once you see them in person, it changes completely with the light and everything, the shadows. So
right. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. That's with everything in the show, because we're doing the screen share. But really, when you come to the show and see things in person, it's just like, wow, it's almost like the scale is something that you can't quite get until you see it in person.
Totally. Yeah. Thanks, Rose.
Yeah. Okay, Maeve, stay there. Do not run off.
Staying here. All right.
Yeah, okay, good. Amy Loggeson, I'm spotlighting you.
Hey, hi.
So you're back in Denver. Looks like you're in Denver.
I'm in Denver, and I'm at Peter Durst's ceramic studio in Denver, and this is my home, home away from home. I'm a little nomadic right now, so my studio in Crestone, Colorado is not quite finished, and so I'm grateful to be here and share this. This is Peter creates such a beautiful, nurturing space and he invites other artists, ceramic artists, to be part of. So he's definitely a mentor, and grateful for my extended Joan Walker and my extended Durst Studio family.
Nice
support. We need it as artists. We need that camaraderie. We need that support and that encouragement, right? And inspiration, and that definitely comes into the work. And many horses for the Coors Western Art Show have been created here.
Wow.
And captures also the essence of the space is in each piece as well.
Wow.
So,
yeah. I was just polishing up a blog post about, really kind of walking through the Coors show this year and putting the artwork up. And what a stunning collection it is, and breathtaking in a really, really different way. That there is just, it has this real calm harmony to it. And everything really kind of connects. It's like you all had this conversation together that was just really kind of quiet and subtle and just lovely. And it's coming through in the work. It's magnificent. But I think there is a lot to that, how I put it is art is a team sport. Yeah.
On different levels, right? As artists, I think sculptors, we definitely need, all artists, but I think also one of the reasons I gravitate to sculpture is because there are other individuals, other artists, other experts in their field that can help me realize my vision.
Yeah.
I can't take on bronze casting or steel work or frame making or whatever, but I can trust in these experts, and I have had many. I'm grateful for all of them. Two are part of the piece, right? They're sort of the behind the scenes people that actually help us shine.
Yeah.
And I get a little emotional with that because, they help me realize my work. Some of the bases, some of the fabrication. Yes, I can do it all, but boy, they have an expertise and a beauty in what they do. And it just helps. So, and that's like everybody here at the Durst Studio, Peter and everybody, and then my other resources out there that, I couldn't do it without them.
Yeah. It's really true that we all have to have each other as support in this. And, and you have to, there's a certain amount of ego in a way, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but you come to the studio with ideas, and those are your ideas from internal. But surrounding yourself with creative people who make your ideas even better.
Right. And we can bounce ideas off each other and help. And we see things in different ways, that when you're in your head and you have this vision and you're going a certain way, that you get blinded towards what's really there sometimes. And to have, an somebody else from the outside, an artist that can also, it's not competitive. It's like, okay, I'm going to help you. I see this, and maybe you were intending this. You choose, you're the artist, but, you know, and I feel this with Maeve and Elsa, you know, they're part of my team too.
Yeah.
And all the artists actually in the Coors show are sort of like, oh, wow, okay. And us getting together, having little conversations and going, okay, oh, now I get this at a deeper level.
Right.
And, oh, you saw something. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, you got that. Oh, that means so much to me because I didn't know. It was so subtle nuance.
Yeah.
And what was created and you got it, success. Right?
Yeah, that is really true. And it is it's such a magical thing. And I think with COVID, us, you know, all kind of having to be separated, and I'm going to do a screen share here, but, you know, having to be separated during COVID, I think it really, in a way, it made it these times that we can get together and really talk about art and talk about meaning and direction and esoteric ideas. It's made them all the more precious, right?
And connection, boy, I've just been craving connection.
Yeah.
And so finding it, like Mae was talking about, that connection to, you know, her past, the animals, it's sort of what gives us strength and gives us inspiration. And we just hope it comes through our work, right? It brings us comfort. I mean, what I do this because, and the medium I choose is to bring me comfort. And the subject matter, the horses have been there for my life through so many challenging times, clay and art.
So let's dive right in. And why clay?
Why clay?
I mean, you tip it over and kaboom, it's gone.
You know,
why clay?
I know it's very fragile. So with my young artists, what I share is because I never grew out of playing in the mud. That's really one of the facts of I still play in the mud. And then
I love it.
And I have to show you. So then the other part of it, I had to bring some clay, and this is one of my favorite clay bodies, which the piece you're seeing on the screen.
Yeah.
This is this beautiful chestnut red clay body color.
Wow.
It's this connection to earth, this earth.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
The comfort of it. And I look at the red and everything else. So it can be stained. My hands can be stained for days. And sometimes I leave the studio and it's dripped.
Oh,
my arm, and I go to the store and I'm like, oh, okay. So,
oh my God.
But it's this is one of, I'm trained as a mixed media sculptor. I'm not, so I feel I'm not a traditional ceramic artist. I don't throw, I hand build. And so I approach this medium as a sculptor and hand building these forms.
Yeah.
So in the horse form, and there's something pretty special taking one subject. I related what Mae was saying about the horse, the connection with horse, and taking that one subject matter and creating it over and over and over and over. Yeah. And each one unique and different, you know it. And mine comes from a place of knowing from my childhood. And it's that tactile being with the horses, that tactile memory.
Yeah.
I don't have horses I borrow my friends' horses, but I don't have, so it's the memory of my childhood and all that time, the brushing, the being with, the riding, all of that is part of the memory that goes into this tactile medium of clay. And so I try and bring forth whatever the spirit. My childhood horse was named Tic Tac, and so he's forever my muse, but he doesn't come out representational in any of these forms. It actually then through it connects me to other horses.
Now
culture across time.
So when we were talking to Maeve, when I was talking to Maeve, it was this conversation about this simplification of, and so of course there's a lot of stunning sculpture that is every detail is put in there. Then there's sculpture where it's really removed. And I think, when you look at someone like Stephanie Revenaugh, who basically paints with clay, in essence, she's laying down these thick strips of, and there's just a lot of surface texture, and you can see her fingerprints in it as well. You have quieted that and really simplified. Of course, everyone walks up and says, oh, this is a horse. But talk about this simplification and what you're going for with this style that you've really developed over the years.
Okay. That's a good question. I think it's the simplification is, like you spoke about, of knowing it's a horse, but capturing the essence of that horse. And I have the herd this year is very legged, which I mean, very grounded on a base. I have created other pieces that look like relics. So the extremities may not be there. They're much more ethereal. They're much more relating to an artifact dug up from centuries long ago, right? And so, so it's capturing that. So enough to know horse, but then having it transcend to something else. I mean, so, and I guess I'm going to have to think about that a little bit more, but I think my intention is really to capture the essence of horse. So it doesn't need all the details. It doesn't need all the extremities. It doesn't need all the parts to know its story.
Yeah.
That, like artifacts, when we dig them up, we might not know a lot about it, but in seeing it and how it's presented and the patina and what has happened, the weathering, the erosion, whatever has happened, it gives it a story. And that's part of what I like to bring to these pieces, is that I love a glaze that looks like rusted steel or healing paint, or that it was buried for centuries, or it looks like bronze, or it looks like, so it's looking like other materials, but clay and sometimes other mixed media that I combine, found objects or various things, also get integrated to sort of help tell the story of the piece.
So talk about accidents, and I'm going to ask you about happy accidents, and this is because there's kilns behind you, and accidents right? And Evelyn Gottschall Baker is on this call as well, and we ended up with one glass piece from Evelyn because just things didn't roll the way in the kiln for her this year. So we're grateful to have the piece that we do have, of course, and hope things are kind of rolling smoother these days. But talk about, you mentioned glazes, surface texture. Talk about the accidents that happen and what you do about it.
Yep. And I've had some good blow-ups in the and just when you think you know your medium, just when you think is when it tests you. And I relate it to working with children, as I teach young children, and working with horses. Actually, it's a lot like working with horses. And so when I come in with a set idea and I try and push it or rush the process, or I have an expectation and I'm holding on really tight, like holding on really tight to the reins,
Yep,
it never goes well. I've had major blowups, and it's usually moisture. I mean, there's the scientific part of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't know. It depends on moisture content. Air bubbles are the big ones. And typically for me, it's if I didn't just let it, I was rushing it and I didn't let it dry long enough, and it gets fired too fast, or it just, it's again, rushing it, and it blows up. And I had a good blow up this year.
Oh.
So, yeah. And so it's humbling. This medium I choose, it's very humbling. As you said, it can drop, it can break, it's fragile.
Yeah.
And I think there's a part of it, and I'm like, maybe I should choose another medium, but there's also something like that in life, right?
Yeah.
Life is delicate, and we've got to, and this medium, I just love to work with. So we say no tears in ceramics, but there's moments of having spent months sculpting a piece and it blows up in the kiln. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. And happy accidents, that's a good one too, because also coming at this, not fully scientifically, I mean, knowing enough, but coming in with glazes and doing test tiles and having, okay, I got this under control. And then you put something in the kiln like, that's not it's not coming out. I don't know. There's some other element in there that's,
Oh,
I don't know, right? But then sometimes it is in those, there's amazing accidents of something else in the kiln next to the piece that might give it this color difference that you cannot replicate. And when I was doing raku, it was like that, is that you would create, and I haven't done raku for a little while, but the raku process of taking a piece, putting it in a kiln, getting it fiery hot, and then you take it out. It has glaze and various things that reacts to this environment, and you take it out, put it in a garbage can full of things that will catch on fire.
yeah.
And so it catches on fire, and then you suffocate it, which is a reduction fire. And then you open it up, and it's, so I think as an artist, it was great to be, so again, humbling, because you create, you have control of this piece, and then you have to let it go by putting it, and you don't know what's going to happen in the reduction fire. And I think I approach each piece like that, of going, okay, just like a horse personality, you know?
Yeah.
There's days that are great, smooth riding, and there are days that it's gonna be a bronc show, right? A bucking bronc.
Right.
You got to hold on and breathe and trying to relate to the materials. And
So tell us about, speaking of materials, tell us about in this finish, Western Pleasure, because the other three are, you know, they have that sense of, you know, that Etruscan sense of, you know, or just being found in it. But this one is really a more polished and painted finish. Tell us about this one.
This one was inspired by a vintage horse show trophy. And so the base of it sort of looks like the ornaments of but they're all found objects. And you know, fabrication to bring all the parts together. And then on the surface of this vintage gold glaze is a decal of a Western like leather tooling pattern. And so that is fired onto, it's permanent, it's fired onto, so you do the glaze, and then after you do the glaze, then you apply these decals, and then you do another lower fire. So it's fired 3 times.
Wow.
So there's opportunities, you know, for success or issues through all the firings.
Yeah, I was going to say
One of a kind, right? So I can't, there's no mold making, there's no, they're immediate to my hand. I'm creating them, and then, you know, they're one of a kind. And I don't know if any of these I could replicate again. So it's being in the moment and working with them.
Which is really lovely. So Old John, tell us about Old John, and I'm going to click over to Elsa here.
So Old John, I have introduced a mule into the herd. So inspired definitely from the history, the heritage of the mule in the West. And we have some mules down the hill from us in Crestone, so we hear them braying. And so this is sort of acknowledging the mining and the pioneers and that aspect. And this surface definitely looks like rusted steel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And this, what is he standing on here?
So this was inspired by, so the piece, what it's on right now, I'm going to hold up the piece that inspired it.
Yeah.
Is this iron cast pin. And I don't know, I'm assuming either mining, anybody out there know, mining the railroad or something. And so I created a ceramic one that fit the Old John sculpture. So it is on a ceramic, but it's this piece, found object, that inspired the base.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, Amy, stay where you are. Yeah, thanks, Maeve. Maeve typed in, these are so lovely. They really are. And just wonderful to be in person. And Evelyn Baker, Amy describes it so well. Yeah, right. That just, there's so much that is up for chance. And those of you who paint in oils, you know, it's not going right. You can scrape it and turn it to the wall, naughty painting, and then go back and keep messing with it, right? But yeah, no, that blows up in the kiln, you're done. So, okay, Elsa, spotlight.
Hello.
Spotlight on Elsa. So, you know what, Elsa, what has been going on in the studio lately?
Well, You're right. Since COVID and maybe even a little bit before that, I decided to just take more time with my paintings and really step back and just develop them more and think about why I do what I do, and not be so rushed to just get through a painting. And so actually I'm not producing as many as I was at one point, but it's so much more satisfying to me to just learn right now.
Yeah.
And because I never had formal training, a lot of it I just went for it in the beginning when I was painting, starting 10, 11 years ago. And it's been great because I'm being more, I've been taking a class with Kevin Weckba, who's awesome. And he's actually in the show this year.
Yes, he is.
And not to change my vision of my work, but just to inform it more and to understand more about color. And I know it's that artist talk, but color, shape, and all that. But with what I do, sometimes it's difficult because I'm taking imagery that doesn't, go together. And I'm not taking a photo of it in real life. And so it's hard to create these little stories I do, little settings I do. And so sometimes I get to a point where I don't really, I don't know how to complete it. And I work through it, but it just takes more time.
Yeah.
And so that's been really great.
So demanding more of yourself in a sense.
What do you mean?
Like it takes more time. It takes more time and effort to be pleased with what you're doing or to achieve these thoughts.
Yeah, and just and more experimenting and more mistakes and I guess layering the paint and adding different things into it. And I love that. And I love that about oil paint too, because it's so forgiving.
Yeah.
And then it creates these layers that add more depth to the painting anyway, which is great. And but I guess I was just at a point of really wanting to understand what makes a painting really strong too. And so that's what I've been doing.
Good.
And
well, you know what? Okay. So there's that balance, isn't there? Between you have so many influences telling you this is a good painting, this is good structure, this is how you use the materials, this, and these are the rules. And what I love about you is that you didn't start with the rules. You started playing. And now, and throughout, I believe when we've talked throughout your transition and career in the arts, continuing to be open and asking a lot of questions. And now really at the point where, okay, give me some more formal stuff because in a way I think, and I'm going to do a screen share, but without knowing or trying, your voice is here. And now what you're doing is, how can I make this even better? How can I make my voice stronger, project more, continue that metaphor in a way?
For sure. And my work still definitely has that theme of imagination. And it's this, I was just thinking about this morning, actually, when I paint and when I come to my studio, it's like, oh, I feel relieved to just like be here. And it's like my place to escape. And, everything outside of here goes away. And I feel like I really have always needed that. And so what I was thinking about is, I think that my work gives that to other people. So in my paintings, the imaginary sort of settings and stuff, it's like you are able to be in more of a, you know, tap into your own imagination and, you know, not so literal, and you're not looking at something realistic. And I don't want them to be like that. And actually, technically, I don't really want my work to be, you know, I don't strive to be able to render something exact, because that it's not appealing to me. I like this more playful, I don't know if whimsical is the word for it, but I'm not really going for realism in a real, you know what I mean? Not in the strong realism sense. And to me, it's more putting the compositions together that work, but are kind of quirky and imagination and inspiring.
You know, okay, so every time, and I'm going to do a screen share, every time I've been doing these calls, even last year when we do these, there's always this strange little connection that kind of bubbles to the surface. And I think the connection with the three of you artists is happy accidents, right? I mean, like, Elsa, you're putting these things out and you're letting dictate or pull you into the canvas in a way, and you're facilitating this conversation, but in a way you're allowing for happy accidents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure. And this piece here, I know it's different for me. I actually love it. So this was, I just put it vertically, because actually it's a horizontal image and it's a reflection of a bird.
Oh.
So yeah, if you turn it, you don't have to turn it. You'll see that, but I just thought it's so much more interesting in this orientation.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it sparks more conversation, and it's not like, oh yeah, there's just, you know, here's a bird and here's its reflection.
Right.
You know, I feel a stronger emotional thing between them. And this is really like about the form. And then it has this, you know, circular movement between the two. That's what I was trying to relay here. And then this cool negative space between them. And graphically, I just like the form of this.
When you walk into the gallery, so this one is, you know, when you walk in and look to the left, it's there. And it does something so fascinating on the wall because you turned it this way. It just really lifts, and it's so interesting because during the week of previews, people would come in and they'd see things, and then all of a sudden they would just go, wait, what? And you could just, like, they couldn't stop their body from moving toward it just to say, you know, just to try and figure out what was going on there. But there's also this really interesting elegance to this piece as well. It just is really fun to look at and enjoy. And so in contrast, here's one that is a little more Rhapsody in Blue, and this is 36. So it's a good size painting. But this one too, you know, is, and I love seeing it this large because you can see all of this wonderful brushwork that you have going on when you get up close to it. Talk about the inspiration of this one.
Well, you know, actually, this is funny because these two birds were actually on the back of one of my cow paintings I did a few years ago.
Oh.
And I just like kind of zoomed into them one day and I thought, oh, I really like these two together. And I wanted to do just a piece with them. So I did one last year and I actually kept it for me because something about it I really enjoyed. And then I did another one, this one larger, but I kept this more in all the blues and blue as really like the statement in here. But what's different about this too, compared to some of my other work, is it's more of a lit up piece. And that's not something I do a lot in my paintings in the past. A lot of my paintings have been more of a without a lot of light and shadow. Yeah. And so this is this is something I'm learning. And this one did take me a while to figure out because I'm not real practiced at it, I have to say. But I also wanted to keep this abstraction in it and add these, the elements. I think it definitely has sort of an abstract feeling. And yeah. I don't want it to be super realistic. Yeah. But I love the color, and color's huge to me. So that's always in the forefront of a lot of my paintings. Yeah. And this connection between these animals and the emotional thing that goes on. Right. Okay, so people who were first introduced to your work a few years ago, and certainly the first time I walked into your studio and saw these cows sitting on couches and, walking down narrow hallways and in boats. And I'm like, I don't know where she came up with this. I don't care. It just makes me so happy. Yeah. So Voyage, and okay, I'm just going to kind of point this out. I'm loving these little accidents. I don't even know if they're accidents, but there's something, there's a push-pull in your work that I'm seeing in this recent work, that there's this guide and there's, where you want it to go, but you're also willing to just to let things be as well, and not this super controlling in a way that makes it feel to me like the subject and the canvas is allowing itself to, come forward. The art is you're allowing the art to kind of come to the surface and have its way. Yeah. Because when I start painting more like all precise, I can't stand it. I mean, there's parts in it that I want to be correct in features and different things, but then I love when there's parts that are let go, and that's not always so easy to do. Yeah. So that's where layering comes in and allowing those drips to happen, or if there's a bit of paint that comes in that I have to stop myself and say, leave it. Yeah. Leave it, because I can always come back over if I want. And but I'm trying to stay with that as well. But I just, again, I feel like in my paintings, these pull me onto their faces. That's really important to me. So that's like the main thing, but then so many other things go into the paintings too. But that is a very, very strong part of why I choose these subjects very carefully. So I feel like I asked you this before, but what prompted you to start putting cows in these unusual settings? I don't know. What, 10 years ago or something? Oh, well, I mean, I started with just more of the cow faces, and then I don't know. I just was like, I don't really know. I'm trying to figure that out. But it's been really fun. Yeah. This one started as more of a just the cow head in there. Yeah. And then I was like, I don't know. It's just a cow head. And then I let this painting go, and I I was like, I'm not happy with it. It needs more time. And then I added these flowers onto it, and I darkened up the background, and I added the sliver moon. And I really wanted this face to just glow more.
Wow.
And so again, this was a process. Like, it sat in my studio till I thought about how I needed to complete this.
Yeah.
Because to me, this is more powerful and visually interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to stop the screen share. And then what I love to do as we approach the top of the hour is I'd love to kind of hand it over to the three of you and ask if you've got questions for each other, comments for each other, and certainly everyone who's out there listening, please add questions and comments into the chat box, and I'll read them out loud for our artists on the call. But yeah, ladies, have at it.
Can I say something really quick?
Go for it. Go for it.
Rose, thank you for all you do, and because you as a curator is an art all in and of itself. And
Oh,
so the display and how you bring us together and what you display for everybody. So everybody has to definitely go see the show, see these works in person. It's so important. And I don't know if I'm speaking for all of us, but
Yes.
I feel that you always push us to be better. You inspire us and you push us to do our best. And we appreciate you. So you are part of our connection, part of our inspiration. So
I agree completely. Because
Yeah.
this is such a strong, amazing group of artists that we really want to put our best work in the show. And it's so inspiring. It really is. And I totally appreciate that too. Yeah.
well, wow, that
Here,
is
here.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and Zoom you guys the rest of the time because no, thank you. You know what? I think over the years as a curator working with you three but everybody in this show has, I appreciate, it does feel like a team sport. And I really kind of say that because we just really do this together.
Totally.
And I think maybe people don't quite understand. They're like, well, the art just shows up and you figure out where to put it. And I'm like, no, these are years and years of conversations that are manifesting in this way. And so thank you, because I appreciate being part of all of this. Really, I always tell people that unwrapping your work is my Christmas. That's my Christmas. Yeah. Go for it. Questions. And Ginny Gulikowski writes exceptional work, ladies. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Please do come see it. Evelyn Baker, looking forward to see all this work in person. Yeah. I'm looking forward to showing it to you all too.
Yeah. For both of you, really quick. So Amy first, I want to say, holy cow, the Western pleasure is so different for you, but it's really, really fun. Like I wouldn't have expected, it looks like it would be bronze, the way that you did the glaze, that gold antique glaze. So it's like, I think it's really, really fun. And then the mule is my favorite. I love old John. Just saying. I was like, she did a mule this year.
I'm looking at your light behind you, and that glaze is sort of like your vintage light behind you.
Yeah, that's like copper. That's like old school copper.
Oh.
Yeah, totally. And then Elsa, the last cow. I mean, I love all of your work this year. I think it's really fun that you're bringing more birds into it. But the last cow with the flowers and the moon, it's like all I can think in my head is like gypsy moon, and it's like this beautiful like depth and goddess femininity with it, and it's just super fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love where it's headed. So
Well,
anyways,
I'm
that's
big
my little
fans.
thing.
I am big fans of both of you. And what can I say? I would love to be able to collect both of your pieces and have them in my home.
Hey, artist trades is the best
I
thing you
know.
can do, ladies. so
C.
true.
Tanner Jensen writes to
Oh.
everyone, so glad I had the opportunity to watch, listen, and learn. Thank you. Thank you for being here. You know, it's just so wonderful to have people listen in on these calls. They're recorded and they should start showing up and populating the website soon, and loading up on YouTube as well. And please share and tell friends. And just so you know, the show is locked and alarmed right now in the gallery. And then January 3rd, my guys show up and we put everything back out again. So if you want a little preview on Monday, January 3rd, you're more than welcome to come take a look. And then our big gala is Tuesday, January 4th.
Crazy.
And so the mask mandate ends at midnight on Monday. We are having printed up Cour Show masks and with our logos. So
Nice.
hoping that we do, you know, I keep saying on these calls, I just want everybody to be really safe, and our artists and our patrons and everybody. So we're going to have some masks, and we're just going to try and keep it nice and safe out there. So looking forward to seeing anyone. Anyway, ladies, last words, final words, please.
Oh, I
So grateful.
for you guys, and yes, you have to see. Yes, my comment quickly for Elsa and Maeve is you've got to see their work in person, all the works, because there's just these beautiful nuances that you just can't get in the photo. And I've gotten the chance to see them and been in their studio, so woo, I know the inside.
Yeah, I do think this is a really strong show this year. I
For
do.
sure.
I feel that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it really is. It's pretty magical. It's,
Yeah, it really
there's-
is.
There's something about this show. There's
Mhm.
something about it.
Yeah.
Neil Sherman, our wonderful artist from Minnesota, great work. Thanks for sharing your processes and inspirations. Hannah Lichtenfels writes, thank you for the all-woman discussion on their magnificent art. Yeah, happy accident. But as I started this off before y'all got on, girls rule.
Yeah.
Love you guys. though.
Okay, we'll let some boys in on the conversation tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
So much fun.
but do come out and see the show. And you know what? We have some of the strongest women artists in the country today doing work right here. And you'll see it at the show this year. And these are three of my favorites right on this call. So ladies, thank you so much. Everyone who's listening in and taking part, really, really appreciate you coming on board. And we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. You all have a very happy holiday. Be safe.
Yes.
Thank
You as well. Thanks, Rose.
Thanks.
Bye, Elsa. Bye,
you.
Amy.
See you
Bye.
guys soon.
See you soon.
Bye, ladies. Thank you.